Hi everyone, I decided to do another episode of Storyteller Tarot. Um, and well, oh, let me see. Okay, and I'm gonna do something a little bit different this time. So, I have been seeing for quite some time the Five of Cups. So, I'm going to just use the concept of the cards to tell these stories. And you'll just kind of have to visualize here. Um, First, a short story. A short story before other short stories. So, today I had to get Uber Eats, and I was waiting at the front of an office building, and it kept saying that the person was like 1 minute away, 2 minutes away, and it kept saying that over and over. And I kept seeing like that person's little blue dot, like kind of in the same area, and I was like, what, are they stuck in traffic? Like, what's going on? And I was just standing there waiting for like 10 minutes. And I know, oh my god, 10 minutes. But yeah, I was standing there waiting for like 10 minutes, and finally I was like, okay, I need to like contact this person because there's like no movement. I don't understand, why is there no movement? I absolutely do not see them. It says that they're super close by. It's been saying they're 1-2 minutes away for over 10 minutes. What the heck is going on? So I contacted them and I said, I'm outside in the front. And they said, I'm outside in the front. And I was like, no, you can't be outside in the front. You must have the wrong building. It's 1108. And they were like, no, that's where I am. I'm at that same number. And I'm like, well, does this person think I'm crazy? Or like, are they trying to drive me crazy? I was like, well, no, that's not possible because I'm here. And so that went on for a while until finally I realized, okay, wait, I think you're in the parking lot. He said, yes, I am in the parking lot. And I said, okay, I'll just go around back and meet you there. So basically, I was out front waiting for them. They were out back waiting for me to come out. Both of us were just waiting for each other. And pretty much all I had to do was like turn around and go out the back way. So this reminds me because I was getting this image of this woman. Well, she doesn't have to have black hair, but she was this woman with black hair and her back was turned and she was walking away from something. Okay, and then I kept getting repeated messages of the Five of Cups, except this was a specific Five of Cups where the woman looks like so exhausted and burnt out and like hopeless, like she doesn't have any more hope, and she's just staring at these three spilled cups, and she absolutely does not see that there's like Two of Cups right behind her. Okay, and so for this particular person, the Two of Cups is what she's been seeking. Okay, she's been seeking this feeling of love and connection and spiritual union. Probably resonates with a lot of people on the counter, a lot of divine feminines on the counterpart journey, this feeling of just being so burnt out, waiting. But I feel like for a lot of the collective, okay, for a lot of the collective, there is this kind of focusing on why it's not possible, like focusing on everything that went wrong, maybe focusing on the past, focusing on pain, focusing on hurts, creating all these stories. Like, so you would like to say, oh, it's them. They're the one who are putting up all these boundaries. They're the one who is caught up in illusions. You know, I'm not, I'm awake. But you have to remember that in our path, people are meant to mirror you. And if you're on the counterpart journey, that is especially true. This person is your mirror. And you are supposed to use that to reflect on yourself, not to just keep projecting your shadow onto this other person. So if you feel that they are creating all these boundaries, You really need to look at yourself, because if you're the one staring at the Three of Cups, it's like you are staring at all the reasons why this can't happen, and you're probably doing this because you yourself are afraid. You yourself are afraid of intimacy. You yourself are afraid of vulnerability. You yourself are afraid of being seen. Maybe you yourself are struggling with self-love and self-esteem. Okay, so you are focusing on these spilled cups, and maybe you're blaming the other person, or you're just focusing on the pain of what happened in the past, that you're leaving yourself stuck in the past. You're not allowing your energy to move forward. Okay, there can't be forward movement. You can't have chariot energy. Okay, chariot is forward movement. I think I'm gonna do a storyteller series where like I just don't show cards and I'm just talking about the archetypes and concepts of the cards to tell stories. But this will be the first in that series. Imagine the tarot. Imaginary storyteller tarot. Okay, anyway, you cannot have chariot energy, which is forward movement, if you are stuck in why something can't happen. So these are the stories that your ego is telling you to keep you stuck in the past, okay? Because the ego, its purpose is to protect you, okay? The ego is like the seed that encases you, and the soul is like the flower that wants to bloom out of the seed. The ego just wants to suffocate you, keep you trapped inside the seed. And I don't know how conscious it is or how that even works, but I don't think it's like this evil malignant thing. I think it's protection. It's like programming. It's maybe you programmed it yourself in some way, and you programmed it that way to protect you, okay, when you did not feel safe. And so the ego is all about safety, but the safety becomes suffocating and doesn't allow you to move forward, okay? So, yeah. I was doing my last video that I did shamanic healing, and I had gotten that message about the woman who was staring at the Three of Cups, like you're not seeing the Two of Cups, it's right behind you. I kept getting that message. But then during that shamanic healing session, and then like just immediately after, it became really very clear to me. Okay, so in that shamanic healing session, I placed the Two of Cups, okay, and then I placed next to it the Ace of Wands, and it aligned so perfectly in that it showed me like a progression between the cards, where when the feminine was in the Ace of Wands energy, it like lit something up, like it brought light, it brought illumination into her consciousness, and it brought this light into her consciousness, and it shifted her perspective. And then suddenly it's like if those Two of Cups was like in this dark corner of the room, okay, and she just could not see it, and then she took out the torch of the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands, for those of you who are not super tarot enthusiasts, is basically it's like it's passion, it's newness, it's like a fresh start, it's drive, okay, it's what propels you forward. It's like the fire in your heart, basically, okay, it's the impetus. It's very phallic card too, because it's like the impetus, the spark of life. But anyway, so it's like she needed to hold this torch from the Ace of Wands. She needed to hold it to like light up the room. And then when she lit up the room, she finally was able to turn around and see that the Two of Cups was there the whole time. Now, I don't know how many of you this applies to, but for a lot of you, I think if you pick up that torch, you will see that actually the Two of Cups has been there the whole time. That you're already on this journey, that this other person is already on this journey with you, that both of you are there. You really just need to bring your awareness to it so that that energy between you can flow, okay? When you bring your awareness to it and you see, oh, this person has been trying to meet me here. Maybe it's their fears that have caused them to basically misinterpret everything that I have said, because they are only seeing it through the lens of fear. And the destiny of the mind is always tragedy, okay? The destiny of the heart is fulfillment. When you're stuck in patterns of the mind, especially if you have like attachment wounds and things like that, your destiny is always going to be tragedy, because that is the story that you are writing in your head. You're writing a story of abandonment, betrayal, rejection, etc. So this is the story you're writing. Everyone's eventually going to prove you right, because the way that you respond and react is basically a self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? So it's super important to become aware of the stories that you are writing for yourself, that you are telling yourself, okay? So it's like that other person was seeing the situation through the lens of fear, so they couldn't see clearly, they couldn't see reality. All they were seeing was somebody pulling away from them, okay? And then you perhaps, or it could be switched, you perhaps were just seeing somebody who was maybe not mature enough yet, maybe they weren't making enough an effort, maybe to you it seemed like they didn't care enough. So it's like each person is projecting their fear onto the situation, so they can't actually see clearly. They're just seeing their own self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? So it's like when the feminine grabs this torch and she brings clarity to the situation, basically brings clarity to her own shadows, instead of projecting all her shadows into somebody else. When she sees that they're a reflection of herself, and she sees the ways in which she herself is blocking this connection and basically getting in her own way, okay, and just needs to move out of the way and let things flow through, okay. When she realizes that, it's like the connection can flow. And what is this Ace of Wands, okay? Why does it light up the room? Why does it illuminate things that you did not see before? Because that, okay, is the path of the heart. Like I said, the path of the mind is tragedy, because this is your unconscious patterns that you think is your destiny. And well, it does become your destiny, okay? Because when you get stuck in these patterns from the past, then whatever story you're telling yourself is going to become your destiny. And that destiny will always lead to tragedy. Now, when you start to live, to me, the Ace of Wands is all about living in your heart space, okay? And this is all about connecting with your truth, standing in your truth, speaking in your truth, putting up boundaries to protect your truth, and acting from this heart space. So you're speaking, you're protecting, and you're acting from this heart space, and you're also opening and sharing from this heart space, okay? When you are living from your heart space, you're in this Ace of Wands energy, and love really does have the power to transform every situation, okay? Because when people are in a vibration of ego, that love story is not going to be a very cheerful love story. It can start right, it can have good moments, but it's not going to end well, okay? And it can get really dark and really ugly when people are projecting all their fears onto each other, okay? The heart can really make a new path where you had no idea there was a path. The limitations of your mind, of your perspective, of your ego, which relies on the past and only on your specific past experiences, is really nothing compared to the heart, which is like infinity, which is timeless, which is there is no space, there is no time, everything is possible. Just the mind cannot possibly compete with the wisdom from your heart space, like not even close. It can see like everything, whereas your mind is like you're stuck on the perspective of your specific experiences, your specific past, and you're going to continue to project those experiences onto everything, which means that you're going to be stuck on the same train ride, okay, for the rest of this lifetime and perhaps more lifetimes, okay? Because speaking of time, I know people like to talk about past lives and stuff like that, and that's cool, but you know what? It doesn't matter that much, because that's the sad thing. When you are stuck in that karmic wheel, you are living the same life over and over again. You can change the characters, you can change the names, you can change the setting, but it's the same story. So you are bringing that story, that same karmic story with you through every lifetime until you find a way to free yourself. So past lives, whatever, yeah, okay, those past lives are here. Okay, you are living those here again over and over until you manage to find your way out of them. So I know a lot of people do like to focus on past lives, but for me, and I've had glimpses of them too, but all it does is show me, okay, that's happening now. You know, that's happening now. That's happening in my past, in this lifetime, that I've encountered those same situations in a different way, but I have. So yeah. um, so the past is still with you, and that's the thing about the mind. The mind is going to always be repeating the past. What I learned is, when it comes to the mind, think of the Fool card in the tarot. You want to start over as much as possible. You want that clean slate as much as possible, because the mind is all about clinging, all about getting stuck, all about putting things into perfect little boxes, and life cannot flow like that. Okay, and then you grow stagnant, and really you repress and you suffocate and you make yourself miserable. Okay, so the mind should always be like the Fool, fresh and clean and new constantly. Okay, of course, that the tarot journey is honestly brilliant. Okay, so I do like that I started this series and that I'm now approaching it in this kind of different way. It is brilliant. There are times where you should be like the hermit and go in, not just the heart but also the mind, like, why are these patterns, where do they come from, blah blah blah. There are times where you should be like like the high priestess, which is, following your intuition and listening and, sharpening your psychic skills, which, they are connected to the mind in some way, obviously, but they should be guided by the heart. Okay, because otherwise it's just confusion and it's very hard to listen and to catch on to the right stream of consciousness. Okay, because there's a lot of different vibrations, and if you're projecting fear, then you're not going to be a good channel and you are not going to help people. But anyway, love absolutely does find a way, and love absolutely does transform, because love, what it does is, when you start to live in your heart space, which a lot of people are way too scared to live from their heart. Can you imagine loving yourself, imagine accepting yourself, imagine acknowledging the dreams that you've carried in your heart since you were a child, and respecting them and believing that they're possible. Imagine speaking from your heart, your truth authentically all the time. Imagine putting up boundaries to respect and love yourself, okay, and protecting your truth. Imagine acting from your heart, just moving forward when your heart compels you to do so, like the fire in your heart from the Ace of Wands. Imagine living that way. A lot of people are much too afraid to live that way. Love raises the vibration of everything around it, and it transforms people. Okay, it transforms you, and because you transform, you give other people the opportunity to transform. Now when your vibration raises, the other people around you, they have the opportunity either to raise their vibration or to leave your life, or the two of you can find a middle ground. But you don't want that. You don't want to lower yourself just to stay around certain people. You want people to meet you up here. Okay, so it's about staying in that heart space so that those around you raise their vibration. Okay, and then everyone can just live a more fulfilling life. Okay, a life that's like a feather. Okay, because I've been connecting with angels for a long time now, I get feathers a lot, and I see ibis a lot as well. Okay, and I see Matt. Basically, When you speak from the heart, your heart becomes light as a feather. You're not holding in, you're not repressing, you're not being weighed down, okay? Your heart is light as a feather. Your life is simple. It's a simple life. You don't have to wear all these hats and play all these roles and get caught in your own lies and your illusions constantly and try to like validate and rationalize your behavior that you know is not aligned. It's not aligned with your heart. It's completely misaligned. And you don't need to justify that behavior which goes against your heart when you live in alignment. It's just a simple life. You just feel lighter, you know, you just feel free. And it's a different kind of freedom. What's funny is most people are seeking freedom and they think freedom is the devil card. Okay, let's imagine again. The devil card has basically people who are in chains, okay, and they are chained to their lower vibrations. And it's usually, if it's about relationships, it's usually about codependent behavior. um, and people think freedom is the devil card, but freedom is not the devil card. That is literally the opposite of freedom. But the way that we perceive things through the mind, we think, yeah, freedom is doing whatever the heck I want, you know? But there's a reason why that pentagram is upside down. It's because the material world, the external world, is being put above, the material world is being put above the spirit. So there's a misalignment. That's why the devil card, if you put it next to the lover's card, is like complete opposites, because the lover's card is about aligning your heart and your mind. And people say that the lover's card is about a choice, and it is about a choice. But that choice is, do I follow the path of the heart or do I follow the path of my ego? That is the choice that is in the lover's card. Now, if you follow the path of your heart, then your heart and your mind align and you live in alignment. So the lover's card, even though it looks like it's about a choice, it's really about unity. It's about the choice to live in unity or to continue to live in an illusion, in the illusion of duality. And then you have the devil card. Okay, one sec. There's like a gnat here. I did not get it. And then you have the devil card, and the devil card is basically just externalizing everything, living in misalignment with the heart. It's basically like repressing the heart, because to live in that way, you have to silence your heart, because your heart is crying out like, okay, this is not what we're here for. We're totally not here for this. We're not here to just like, you know, basically seek fulfillment in this hollow, empty way where it's just self-destructive and it's destructive towards others. Just this trying to seek fulfillment in the senses. This is not what we're here for. So you have to silence that heart. So then you become misaligned and you become absolutely confused and lost and hollow. Okay, so the devil card is the complete opposite from the lover's card. So yeah, the Ace of Wands raises that vibration that you get from the devil card, okay? And it's all about, I mean, fire is like burning, karmic energy is burning away the past. It's about burning away those codependent behaviors, those negative attachments, those need for validation, all this validation seeking. And like in the lover's card, I also see something very important, because I see the apple. Now, the apple can be this beautiful thing, or it can have a worm in it that rots it from the inside, okay? And that worm is like those lower vibrations from the devil card. It's like when the apple, instead of being this treasure, becomes just this object, that is the energy of, one second. Sorry about that. Anyway, someone was knocking on the door. Okay, so when it has that worm in it, which is, it has those lower vibrations from the devil card. Okay, so the process of like unification in the counterpart journey definitely has to do with kind of raising and transmuting those lower vibrations. And that just means, so it's okay, so it's no longer like the person is no longer an object, the person is a person. Okay, I think in a lot of relationships, unfortunately, women feel like used, they feel like an object, they feel like something that is being used for the satisfaction of their partner. And a lot of times they aren't feeling fulfilled, they aren't feeling respected, they aren't feeling this emotional reciprocity or connection. And because they maybe have an attachment to or truly love their partner in some way, they feel like they can't put those boundaries in place, and because they feel if they do put boundaries in place, then they're going to be alone. So it's like, and this isn't just women. So you see people settling for things, settling for situations where they're not feeling emotionally fulfilled and they are feeling used. And this can absolutely happen for the man as well. Okay, and this can happen both ways in relationships like this. So both people are feeling used, both people are being treated as an object that is there to fulfill them, to fulfill their needs, to fulfill their lack, their emptiness. Okay, so the person loses their personhood. They lose, and they start to lose more of themselves because they allow themselves to be used as this object. And I think this is has a lot to do with distorted feminine energy, where they think this is how the world works, this is how it is. So they start to feel like they enjoy the objectification, like they enjoy just being desired as an object. And they start to compete with other women to be like the best looking object. You know what I mean? I'm sure this is going to piss off a lot of people, but it's, to me, that's true. They get stuck in this mindset of competing for attention, validation, and like crumbs of affection. And this is not real fulfillment. Okay, fulfillment and satisfaction first off has to come from yourself, has to come from within first. Okay, and it has to come from living your truth and asserting your personhood, your wholeness. Okay, you're not like a prop, you're not a support character, healer character. You're not an object. You're not the manic pixie dream girl that's there to fulfill someone else's desires, to bring them peace. You know, you may think it's romantic to be the person that brings them peace and happiness, but that's because that person has lots and lots of holes. Okay, and the fact that you want to be that person and you want to be that object for the other person says something about yourself too. It says that you feel powerless in this world somehow. You feel powerless to go after your own dreams, your own ambitions, or you don't believe in yourself, or you don't think that it's possible. So I see in the Lover's card there's this apple, and this apple has a duality to it as well, just as the card itself can have a duality, the illusion of duality to it, even though what it's asserting is unity with the angel in the middle, like guiding the lovers towards unity and away from duality. But there's an inherent duality in that apple as well. There's this like, are you going to seek true knowledge and true fulfillment that comes from within, or are you going to seek objects outside of yourself for external validation? Okay, for temporary ego fulfillment is basically like one of the choices that is also in that card, which I think is very meaningful. And a personal story, when I was very young and before I was ready for anything, exploring sensual dynamics, I was taken advantage of. And the day that I was taken advantage of, and I don't remember how young I was young, and I was not prepared, so I had no idea what to do. But the day that I was taken advantage of, there was actually a peach that somebody was eating, and they bit into the peach, and there was a worm in it. And then I never forgot that worm. It became a huge shadow totem archetype thing for me, and it became like a huge part of my healing journey for like a really long time. And an important thing that I've learned recently in regards to that is I have to stop identifying as someone who survived something, because I see that I put myself into situations again where I allow myself to feel powerless, and where I allow myself to feel like I'm being used, and where I allow myself to feel like I've just survived something horrible and brutal. There's an important aspect of the fire in the Ace of Wands, which is burning away the past. There's an important aspect in the Fool card, which is letting go and having a truly clean slate. Like, don't let I'm a survivor be part of your programming anymore. And I'm not saying that to piss anyone off, but you know, have at it if you want to be pissed off. Don't let that be part of your identity anymore. Like, start new for real. It's like you bake the story into your code because you think that you need it to protect yourself so that that thing doesn't happen to you again. It's like you don't trust the universe, you don't trust yourself. But you need to trust your heart. You need to know, I can follow my heart. It won't lead me astray. I know who I am. I can protect myself. I'm not powerless. The universe has my back. I am powerful. Okay, that Ace of Wands is, I am powerful. I love myself. I know who I am. And the Fool is, I trust the universe to have my back. And I'm seeing this Ace of Wands and this Fool card is triggering. The Ace of Wands illuminates the Two of Cups, but the Fool card triggers this very important event in the counterpart journey, in my opinion. So the Ace of Wands illuminates the Two of Cups that has actually been there the whole time. You've been on this journey together the whole time. And that feeling of connection has been available to you if you would only become aware of it. But then there's another important part of the story being told, which is the Fool card, which is you truly letting go of that programming of, oh, I survived something awful. Letting go of that programming of like protecting yourself, trying to control what happens, okay? Because there's a lack of trust there. There's a lack of trust in your heart. There's a lack of trust in the universe. Like, oh, what if I let go and then I don't get anything I want? Or what if I let go and I get hurt again? What if I let go and something bad happens? So you need to deal with that. Like, you really need to connect with your heart and start to feel that trust again in yourself and in the universe. It's important to trust yourself, okay? But another thing I want to mention is a lot of these tarot videos, they're like, and then A happens, and then B happens, and A happens. If you are always projecting something into the future, like, oh, that Two of Cups is in my future, then it's always going to be in your future, and it's never going to be in your present. Okay, you need to open your eyes and see that a lot of this stuff is already happening. Those opportunities are already there. The things that your heart wants, your heart is attracting toward you, and your life is preparing you to be the proper channel to receive those things into your life. Okay, so just open your eyes to that and pay attention to that. And remember that each story is different. So the psychics, and I'm one of them, they read the energy and they tell this energetic story that happens when they tap into a certain collective. Now, this energetic story is like a story that happens in the 5D, and this is how it is communicated to the psyche, and then we communicate that. But the way that it trickles down to the 3D to each individual person is completely different. All the little particulars of the stories are different. The overall energetic story arc is very similar, and that is the part that's being read, and that's why you can do collective readings. But the way that it trickles down to each individual person is quite different. Your story can be quite different. It can have very different elements that are like strange or unique compared to the rest of the collective. So you need to understand that, and you need to, if you're living too much in the future, then you are very much stuck in your mind and you're not in your heart space, because the heart is telling you, you know, this is already here, this is already available to you, your fulfillment is already here, or the path has already begun. Don't you see that the path is unfolding? Why don't you take advantage of it? Why don't you listen? So yeah, that's basically I think that's the gist of it. That is the message that I had today for the Storyteller Tarot Series Episode 3, which is all about the imaginary tarot, the archetype tarot, which I am basically boiling down to illustrate these important concepts. And I hope that this helps you. And if you want a private channeled message or shamanic healing session or one of many different types of tarot readings from me, you can go to psylenstarot.love. And silence, psy is psy as in psyche, and lens is like a camera lens. .love, okay? Psylenstarot.love, and I'll see you next time.